Okay, here's a weekly update of our option income. I used to do these videos once a month, but since there's a lot going on each week, I decided to start doing these once a week. And I've had a couple of people ask me about the options, and I'll say that I first got interested in it when I was in high school. I was in a study hall, and the study hall was in our library, and I was looking for the newspaper to look at the sports section. And I was looking around and I looked over and our ag teacher actually was supervising the study hall. And he was sitting over and he was hogging all the newspapers. And I went over and I sat down next to him at the table. He kind of gave me a dirty look and I said, "You about done with the sports section?" And he was looking at the Chicago Tribune and he said, "No, I'm looking at the futures, corn and soybean and pork bellies and cattle futures." Then he asked me if I knew what that was. I'm like, no, I'm a 15-year-old high school kid. I don't know what that is. And so he spent like the next half hour or however long that study hall was explaining to me how futures works. And he said for like $500, I could like control 5,000 bushels of corn. Or if you're talking about silver, for like $500, I could control 5,000 ounces of silver. He sketched out on the piece of paper like some math. And I'm like, you mean I can buy basically 5,000 bushels of corn for $3 a bushel and put up $500. If that corn goes up a dollar, I make $5,000 a dollar a bushel. And he's like, yeah. Well, the corn wasn't going to go up a dollar a bushel from 3 to 4, but if it went up 10 cents, or whatever, it would go up back then. And this is like 1981. That's a long time ago. And yeah, so the problem at the time is the only information was from newspapers. You didn't have internet like we do now. And so he explained it to me, and that just stuck in my head like, wow, And then later, a couple years later, I was working and I was making some money. When I say a few years later, probably about 1990. And I visited a commodity broker and I started dabbling with commodities a little bit. And I made a little money and I lost a little money. And over the course of a couple of years, I probably broke even. The problem was that information was so delayed. And by the time I looked at a corn futures or the silver markets or whatever, the information I was getting was already 2 days old. I didn't know what was going on. So that was the hard thing. And then when the internet came along, I started looking a little bit more, dabbling into it. Well, I stayed away from the futures markets, but then I started looking at options and learning about that. And so I really got into it or back into it is the early days of COVID. I started working from home. I had time on my hands, like everybody, and I started really like trying to look into it and say, I know you can make money doing this and consistent money safely. And that's where I kind of got back into it. So I didn't mean to take all that time to talk about futures and options, but I just thought I'd give people a little bit of feedback, like how long I've been doing this. And I think I want to share that feedback because I get a lot of advice about how I'm going to lose my life savings and all kinds of stuff. And I've been doing things like investing in real estate and stocks and options and futures for 30 some years, real estate for 35 years, and been investing in the stock market since I've had a job and McKay's and IRAs, all kinds of good stuff. So if I haven't learned my lesson by now, I'm not going to learn it ever. And so whatever I'm doing seems to be working. I'm just going to keep sticking at it. Anyhow, that's like 4 minutes of rambling. If you made it this far, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. I'm getting close to 1,000 subscribers on my channel. And that's exciting. And if you could like the video and turn on notifications and all that good stuff, that'd be really great. And one of the most important things is after I just got done telling you my life story about trading stocks and options and real estate, this is not financial advice. I'm just sharing what I do. I enjoy what I do, and I don't want to keep it a secret. I was inspired when I was 15 years old by my ag teacher how I could get rich off of the futures markets. If I can inspire somebody to just think a little bit different, just whether it's buying a rental house or getting into option trading a little bit, there's ways to make some extra money out there. And I'm not saying quit your job and do this full time, but there's more to life than just going to work 9 to 5. A lot of people are getting rich out there why not you? So anyhow, let's take a look at our options here and see how we did for the week. Okay, before we get too far along, if you think you might want to try selling options, and I'll say selling options, I might say trading options, but when I'm saying trading options, I mean selling options and selling cash accrued puts and cover calls. I actually put together a course, 17 videos in this playlist, and it follows section 1 and goes along. And then squeeze in there like between section 7 and section 8, there's a couple videos squeezed in there that are kind of demos of how to actually go into Fidelity or Robinhood and actually place trades. And I place those videos where they kind of fit in with that series of videos. There's a video here about the option trader tracking spreadsheet. I get questions about that all the time. So the spreadsheet you're going to see here in a minute is all about that, rolling an option and all kinds of good stuff. So this is meant for like very beginners. And I'm thinking almost like, how would I teach that to myself if I was in high school? People might say, like, what do you know about teaching? Well, I spent 10 years teaching tech to high school kids. Those kids would walk in my class. They didn't know anything about computer networking, like Cisco Network Academy, CompTIA certifications, Microsoft certifications. And I had to teach them from the ground up all this tech stuff. They were tech savvy as far as like navigating the web and playing video games. They didn't know how the internet worked behind the scenes. And that's what I did for a career. I worked in networking, retired now, and trading options for a living, I guess. So a link to the ebook I have and then the videos are right here. And I'll put links in the description of this video. But if you get to the playlist for the ebook and the course I put together, you can find everything in the description. Each one of the videos in this playlist has the ebook, and then the option trading spreadsheet is right here. And that's enough about that. So let's jump in and see how we did for the week. Here we are for the week. So I sort this based on the date I close the trades. Like this one here, for example, I opened it December 4th, but I closed it on 12/26, which was Monday of this past week that we're in right now. This is actually the end of the week. So this here group of trades all happened this week. This week had New Year's Day in there, so I didn't do much trading New Year's Day, obviously, because the market was closed. So to keep you from waiting, I'll highlight this column here. This is the profit of the closed trades that I closed this week, and it adds up to $1,749 down here. So some people will say, do you do that every week? Well, let's go back last week. Last week it was $2,100, and the week before that, I'll highlight those here. It was $2,527. So that's the week from the 12th through the 19th. We'll go back another week, $2,157, and then we'll go back the week before that and 3,600. So if you want to see what I made for the month of December, so here's what I closed in December. So I'll start right here, and I'll go ahead and highlight this all the way down, and I'm going to stop at December 30th. I must not have closed any trades on the 31st. But if you look over here, $11,910 for the month of December. So that's pretty good. That's more than enough than what we need to live off of. When I retired, I thought my main stream of income would be from high income ETFs, and I make videos about that too. And my goal was to make $10,000 a month from those, or distributions each month, and that would be what we live off of. And I invested enough into the income ETFs for my growth funds. I started selling some of my growth funds like SPY, QQQ, SPMO, VTI. We started selling some of those funds and put them into income funds like QQQI, GPIX, GPIQ, TDAC, and whatever. And I wanted to invest enough in those to make $10,000 a month. And I thought we could live off $10,000 a month. What I kind of forgot was I was selling options in my retirement accounts all along, but I wasn't really keeping super good track of it. And since they were in my IRAs, I didn't really have to keep detailed records because that money is all tax deferred. I wasn't reporting that in my taxes because I wasn't paying tax on it because it was in my IRA. Well, once I retired, and we sold some rental properties also along the way, we had a lot of money in our brokerage taxable account. And so I started selling options in some of those accounts. So I had to start keeping track. And then I realized, wow, like we're making, $2,000 or $3,000 a month doing this. And since I started keeping track, I realized how much I was making. And then actually by keeping track and keep an eye on like what I'm using for which stocks I'm using, like Robinhood or Netflix or SoFi. I started keeping track of what I was doing and like how much I was making each time and how long I was keeping the trades. I started actually trading more and then probably doubled or tripled the amount of money I was making per month on the option trading. So that's kind of where things are today. Before I go, I wanted to talk about a comment I get. People say, how much money do you need to trade options? And these are the options we've closed, and that's $1,749 this past week. These are the ones that are still open, and I'll be closing a bunch of these next week, more than likely. And these are the expiration dates that are set already, and a lot of them are to expire the 16th of January. I like monthly options more than weekly options because there's more activity and volume and all this good stuff. So I've already started doing some options for February 20th, which is about 6 weeks away. And just another thing I'll mention, I don't usually keep options till all the way to the expiration date. When I get to a certain point when there's enough premium has been made, I'll just pick one randomly here. This one here, I opened on Christmas Eve and actually closed it on the 30th. The original expiration date was for January 2nd, which is today, but I closed it early. I earned the difference between 81 cents per share and 22 cents per share, which is $296. What I wanted to do is highlight some of these, and this one, and this one, and this one, and these two down here. So down here, you see the sum is 59,000. We'll just call it 60,000. So the question is, how much can I make doing options with an account, let's say 50,000 or 60,000? Well, let's do something else. So now what I want to do is put zeros in here. And each of these are different accounts, and these identify which accounts I'm trading the options in. So I'll put a 0 here, and a 0 here, and 0 here, and 0 here. And up here I got my formulas messed up. Let me copy that down so my formulas update. I added these up. It was like 60,000. Now if I take the sum of these here, that's $2,184. So if I kept those options all the way to the expiration dates, I would make $2,184 off that $60,000 that I have to use for collateral. Right? So I don't usually keep these all the way to expiration. Usually when it gets down to like 50% profit or so, I'll close them early and then I'll use that collateral and invest in something else. And quickly, I want to say we have a Roth 401k for our granddaughter who's 10, and she's earned some money helping us with our rental properties. When we pay her, we actually hand her the money, take it right back from her, and then we deposit it to the Roth IRA on her behalf. Just so you know, we're not stingy. We will gift her some money as a gift, but she earns money that she invests, and then any other money is a gift, which is not income, which she can't invest in a Roth IRA, but she could invest it in a savings or brokerage account. What I'll start doing is actually keep track and probably make a different series of videos on how to trade an account that only has like $5,000 in there. She's got about $4,000, and we've been trading BBAI, Big Bear AI, and those shares of stock are like about $5.50 a share. So we actually bought 200 shares of stock, and then we sold a cover call with a $6 strike price, and we made a premium of 25 cents per share. Now, that's still open. We haven't closed that yet. If we keep it till expiration, if I put a 0 in there, that will be a $50 profit. And people will say, $50 is chump change, blah, blah, blah. That's not worth it, everything else. But when you do the math, let's do some math here. Let's put the 16th in here because the expiration date is the 16th. And we'll look up the return. So we'll keep that for 14 days. It'll be a 4% return on capital, which is the $1,200. So we're going to earn 4% from the $1,200 in 2 weeks. That's pretty good. If we do this over a year's time, it'd be 108% return. So we would double our money in 1 year. Now, is that possible? Well, I'm not going to say it's possible or not because I don't want my YouTube channel deleted for saying things that aren't true. we're going to just keep doing this and see how much we can earn on this account. If we could turn this $4,000 or $5,000 account into 7 or 8,000 in a year, that'd be really, really awesome. So before I forget, I'm going to delete that there until we actually close it and then see how we do. Okay, so I'll wrap this up. Sorry, the video is a little bit longer than normal and my recording software crashed right in the middle. So I'm going to try to splice this together without redoing the whole thing from scratch. And if you made it this far, I appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe if you're interested in selling cash card puts and cover calls. Look at that playlist and download that ebook and try to get started and pay attention for the trading of that small account that belongs to our granddaughter. And you keep track of how you can grow a small account possibly and get really started with options. So we'll see you next time.